amidst growing geopolitical shifts. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi have agreed to resume trade and connectivity, reflecting their shared desire for a stable relationship, especially in the wake of the border tensions that flared up in 2020. The two sides have committed to working towards resolving the long-running border dispute in the Himalayas, with a focus on peace and stability in the border areas. This, in turn, will help boost trade, cultural exchanges, and people-to-people contact. The countries are also set to restart direct flights and facilitate visa processes for journalists and business people. Economically, both nations stand to benefit greatly from enhanced trade, especially in sectors like technology, renewable energy, pharmaceuticals, and infrastructure. My colleague Joshua Barnes spoke to Zhong Shi of the CGTN. Let's cut to it now.
Joining us on the show is Zhong Zhi, who is an anchor for CGTN and is based in Beijing. Thank you for joining us on the show. My first question to you, how important is it for India and China to jointly maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas so that both countries may move forward to forge better trade ties, connectivity, bilateral exchanges and people-to-people connectivity?
Thanks for having me. I think it's absolutely important for a healthy, stable relationship between the two sides. I mean, if you look at how relations soured since 2020, I think it's evident that the setbacks were not in the interest of the people of our countries. What we saw was dwindling ties in trade, diplomacy, and even air travel. But we also saw both sides wanting to improve ties as soon as opportunities presented themselves through dialogue and communication. So I think it was a great relief to both sides that last year, India and China were able to reach an agreement on border patrol arrangements and withdrew forces along some border areas. And that really opened doors to resolving differences and led to the good momentum we are seeing today. If you look at statements from both foreign ministers this time, you will see that both of them are acknowledging a positive trend in bilateral relations, and that exchanges and cooperation between the two sides in practically all fields are moving toward normalization. And all of that, of course, is based on a stable border situation, which is also why at the 24th round of talks between the special representatives of China and India on the boundary question, a 10-point consensus on how to maintain border tranquility was reached. I would also say that going forward, as both nations mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations, they would take valuable lessons from the past and advance relations with strategic perceptions. What does that mean? That means both sides should view each other as partners, as opportunities, not rivals, not threats, and really invest their valuable resources in development and revitalization.
Yes, and how can India and China benefit from each other economically? Which are the key sectors that can be explored to increase trade?
Small things are really happening in the trade and economy sectors that I'm very pleased to see that will have far-reaching implications. For example, both sides agreed to resume direct flights between the Chinese mainland and India at the earliest. They also agreed on the facilitation of visas to tourists, businesses, media, and other visitors in both directions. What does that mean here? More trade and investment flows between the two sides coming soon. Now, what are some of the areas holding more potential? New energy is definitely one. China has taken a leading position in the fields of electric vehicles and renewable energy. It is in a position to introduce Chinese technology and key components to India, especially when it comes to battery manufacturing. India's high demand for battery technology and components would be met very well with China's strength in this area. And in terms of infrastructure construction, I do believe this is an area they will continue to work with each other on. China can participate in India's infrastructure projects such as transportation, energy and urban construction, which is conducive to promoting India's economic development and also creating business opportunities for Chinese enterprises. Biopharmaceuticals is something they can further explore. The two sides can strengthen cooperation in biopharmaceutical technology research, drug production standards, and market access, and jointly promote the progress of the biopharmaceutical industry. I would also like to point out that we're talking about the two largest developing countries with a combined population of more than 2.8 billion. China and India bear unique responsibilities here. Beyond just growing their own economies, they should infuse vitality into the global economic development. China's manufacturing and infrastructure expertise, like I mentioned before, India's tech and service sector dynamism together drive supply chains and innovation. They should use that for the greater good, promoting fairer global trade rules, turning their economic progress into inclusive progress, and contributing to a more equitable world here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Zhongchu, thank you ever so much for joining us and answering those questions. We really appreciate it.
We now move on.